break, and you're not wrong at all. So Kiffin during the game, it's funny. Kiffin during the game on that mid-quarter sideline interview basically said not a whole lot that we can do personnel-wise on defense because they're just better than us there. And then after the game, in his press conference on Sunday, because he's doing he's doing a post-game, a Sunday, and a Monday press conference now. For a guy that hates the media, he's doing a lot of media. But essentially said, when you give up that many points in yards, it's not just personnel. That they did things poorly as well, which it's true. They've got to get better there. I mean, Arkansas, I assume, from listening to Sam Pittman, is going to want to line up and run right at Ole Miss and say, beat us. Because they did that last year and it worked. Now, basically, the entire Ole Miss defense is different from a year ago, including the play caller. So, apples to lawn chairs, not even apples to oranges. But that they just saw on Saturday, by far, and I don't think by far the best collection of offensive talent that they will see this year and that they could see this year. I mean, if you want to compare LSU's offensive talent, now remember, offensive talent, you are making comparisons between them and USC with the reigning Heisman Trophy winner, or Ohio State with Marvin Harrison Jr. State fans, you saw it too. They have good enough line play for sure. Maybe not the best offensive line in the country, but it's certainly good enough. They're elite at this point at quarterback. Elite at quarterback. Really, really good at tight end, and elite with at least their 1 and 2 wide receivers. Elite, like among the best in the country.
They've got 2 that are elite and a third that would be a number 1 receiver on half the teams in the SEC and a number 2 on the rest of them in Lacey. Lacey's really, really good.
And so it's all downhill from here for Pete Golding's defense. They've got to be better, of course, but it will not be any more difficult than it was on Saturday night. Absolutely not.
I think we got 2 different conversations going at the same time, but because it all stemmed from your question, what is Ole Miss? So what about the bad defense sandwich? Right? So pretty bad against Georgia Tech. Gave up nearly 500 yards in that game. Won it. And won it comfortably and made plays when they had to. Really, really good against Alabama. Ole Miss's defense against Alabama, by any measure you want to take, was really good.
Yes.
Gave up a couple of big plays in the passing game. That is true. But in terms of like overall grade, what do you give them, like a solid B for the defensive performance against Alabama?
I would go B+.
Maybe a B+.
Yeah.
B+,
okay.
Yeah.
Gave up a couple of busted coverages late that kind of cost him the game. But, man, it was 225 through the air and under 3 per carry on the ground on the road.
And then against LSU, the defense was a D for the game. Maybe a D- for the game. But there was a bonus question at the end of the test that allowed you to bump your grade, your final grade on the test by a full letter grade. And so because of what they did at the end of the game when they had to have stops and they got them, I think you probably bump them up to a C with an asterisk. Like there was a bonus question asterisk. So what is this defense going to be going forward? Saturday's a really good test, isn't it? I think
so.
Saturday is a good test to answer that question. Because
especially when you consider what they did last year.
Well, yeah.
I mean, I know last year's last year, but you want when there are games that you're like, we want a redemption, we want revenge for what happened last year, and if you don't get it, it looks bad. It's like you circled this game and you didn't get the job done. I mean, if you're Ole Miss, you're thinking we want to make them look bad, offensively because they ran through you last year.
So, why is Arkansas a good test? Because when they're clicking, they're a good offense, but they're also an offense that can go the other way. They have an experienced veteran quarterback who has previously lit Ole Miss up, although he did that when he had an elite receiver. Arkansas's best tight end, freshman tight end, who was putting up huge numbers, is out. They've got better speed at wide receiver than maybe they're getting credit for, but they certainly don't have the playmakers that LSU had. Offensive line is not as good.
Oh, it's not as good as an undersell. It's bad.
Yeah, it's not good. But they are still they're a little bit different than LSU. They're a physical football team. They want to run the football first. They want to put it down your throat a little bit. LSU is a little bit more finesse, you would say. They're more about the passing game. So that's why it's a good test. It's the opposite test.
Physically though.
He does. No, they can run the ball, but you wouldn't call them a power offense. Arkansas, with Jefferson the way he runs and Sanders and the way he runs, that's a power offense.
In theory, it is. In execution, not so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, is Rocket Sanders fully healthy? Does he have a better game this week? Is their offensive line play any better? I don't know. So I think Saturday, the Ole Miss defense matched up with the Arkansas offense is. I think that's a fascinating case study. So that's one of the two conversations that we've got going. Then the other conversation is about the Ole Miss offense. So, again, back to the original question that Borky asked, what is Ole Miss? And I go back to what I said at the end of the 3 o'clock hour. Oh, for one, they're healthier than they have been. I want to see – I've used this example a bunch in the past. When you play a skins game in golf, a lot of times you have to validate. So, like, if you win a hole, to collect the actual skin, you have to make par or better, or bogey or better on the next hole, depending on what rules you're playing by. Ole Miss's offense was elite. Like, as good as we've seen nationally on Saturday. Part of that is LSU's defense has really struggled. But I think we need to see Ole Miss validate the skin that they won last Saturday, this Saturday against Arkansas. Can they still protect the football? Can they still run the football when they want to? Can they make plays in the passing game? Can they put points on the board? Can they convert on third down? Can they convert on fourth down? Can they score in the red zone? We'll see. They should be able